The news spread across human space in hours. 1,200 Vrelian warships were withdrawing. The war was over. No final battle, no apocalyptic weapons. Just a peace treaty signed in a conference room on a dead world. Captain Wanho Lee stood on the bridge of the destroyer Incheon and watched the Vrelian dreadnoughts power down their weapons. Each ship was 5 times larger than his destroyer. Each one had enough firepower to destroy a fleet, and they were all leaving. "Skipper," his executive officer said quietly. "What happened down there?" Wanho had received the classified briefing an hour ago. He still could not quite believe it. Ambassador Park made them soup. The executive officer stared at him. "Sir, you heard me." He made them soup. Korean soup modified for Vrelian biology, served it to them personally. The next day they surrendered. "That's..." The executive officer struggled for words. "That's the strangest thing I've ever heard." "Yeah," Wanho agreed. But it worked. On the station, Hana found Taemin in his quarters. He was on a call with Sora. His wife was crying. "Happy tears this time, you did it," Sora kept saying. "You actually did it." "We did it," Taemin corrected. "Your question made me think. Your soup gave me the idea. This was as much you as me." After the call ended, Hana sat down across from him. "The first group of Vrelian prisoners will be released tomorrow. Then ours will come home. The exchanges will take months, but it's happening." Taemin nodded. He felt exhausted, relieved, and strangely empty, as if the purpose that had driven him for 3 years had suddenly vanished. "What will you do now?" Hana asked. "Go home, see Sora, sleep in my own bed, maybe help her reopen the restaurant." He smiled. "What about you?" "They want me to lead the cultural liaison program. Help humans and Vrelians learn to understand each other. It's going to be difficult. Decades of work, maybe centuries. You'll do well," Taemin said. "You understand them better than anyone." "I understand their language, their culture, but I still don't think I really understand them." "How do you explain compassion to a species that never had it? How do you teach someone to care about strangers?" "You show them," Taemin said. "The same way we showed Zilvara, one bowl at a time." 5 years passed. Taemin retired from diplomatic service after the war ended. He moved back to Seoul with Sora and helped her open a new restaurant. She called it The Summit as a reminder of where everything changed. The restaurant became famous. Half the menu was Korean food. Half was Vrelian cuisine adapted for human tastes. Every night the place was full. Human families sat next to Vrelian officers on cultural exchange. Old enemies sharing tables, sharing stories, sharing meals. Hyunwoo Kim became the head chef. The man who had lost everything in New Busan found a new purpose in the kitchen. He taught young Vrelian cooks how to prepare Korean dishes. He learned how to make Vrelian food that did not make humans sick. Some nights he still dreamed of his wife and daughters. But he also dreamed of that morning when Ambassador Park asked for his help. When soup made in a space station kitchen ended a war. When his choice to help his enemies became the thing that saved billions of lives. One evening, a group of Vrelian junior officers came to the restaurant. They were young warriors studying at Earth's military academy, part of the exchange program. They ordered galbatang and ate it slowly, savoring every bite. "Is this the same soup?" one of them asked Hyunwoo. "The one from the summit?" "As close as I can make it," Hyunwoo said. "Thank you," the young Vrelian said. "My matriarch told us about this soup. She said it taught our people something we had forgotten, how to see enemies as people." Hyunwoo felt tears in his eyes. He nodded and returned to the kitchen. Hana became the coalition's chief cultural liaison to the Vrelian hegemony. She had 17 staff members now, half human, half Vrelian. Together, they wrote the first true Vrelian human cultural dictionary. The project took 4 years. Thousands of words, thousands of concepts, but the hardest word to translate was also the most important: compassion. The Vrelians did not have an equivalent word. They had never needed one. But after the summit, after the soup, they created a new word, Tilvara, named after war matriarch Silvara herself. Tilvara meant to feed another without expectation of return. But it came to mean more than that. It meant caring for someone who could not help you. It meant showing kindness to enemies. It meant choosing mercy when strength was expected. The word spread through Vrelian culture like fire. Parents taught it to children. Teachers included it in lessons. Warriors meditated on its meaning. A concept that had never existed in 8,000 years of Vrelian history became central to their identity in just 5 years. Shilvara herself retired from military service. She took a new title, Peace Matriarch. The hegemony appointed her as ambassador to Earth. She lived in Seoul in an apartment near the Summit restaurant. Every week she went to the restaurant and ordered the same thing. Galbatang prepared exactly the way Hyunwoo made it that morning 5 years ago. She ate slowly, remembering, thinking. Humans still confused her sometimes. Their emotions, their attachments, their strange habit of caring about things that did not benefit them directly. But she was learning, slowly, one bowl of soup at a time. One evening, a young human child approached her table. The girl was maybe 6 years old. She stared up at Silvara with wide eyes. "Are you the one from the story?" the girl asked. "The Vrelian who learned to be nice?" Her mother tried to pull her away, embarrassed. But Silvara raised a hand. "Yes," she said through her translator. "I am that one. My teacher said you used to be mean, but then someone gave you soup and you became nice. Is that true?" Silvara thought about how to answer. The truth was complicated. The truth involved strategy and projections and long nights of calculation. But maybe the simple truth was better. "Yes," she said. "Someone showed me compassion, and it changed everything." The girl smiled. "I'm glad you're nice now." After the girl left, Silvara sat for a long time looking at her empty bowl. Such a simple thing. Broth and protein in a ceramic container. But it had done what weapons could not do. It had ended a war. It had started a friendship. It had taught an ancient species how to be something better than they were. Somewhere in the archives of both civilizations, preserved in stasis fields and quantum storage, there sat the original bowl. The one from the summit, empty now, but once it held soup made by human hands and shared across an impossible divide. The bowl that ended a war. The bowl that began a friendship. The bowl that taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. In orbit above Earth, the joint human-Vrelian defense fleet conducted exercises. 1,200 warships moving together, 600 human vessels, 600 Vrelian ships. They flew in perfect formation, protecting the homeworld of their former enemies. Because that was what friends did. And it all started with soup. Taemin watched the news footage from his apartment. Sora sat beside him, her hand in his. On-screen, human and Vrelian pilots flew side by side. Former enemies, current allies, future friends. Do you ever regret it? Sora asked. Giving up your career? You could have been the most celebrated diplomat in human history. Taemin looked at his wife, at the simple apartment they shared, at the life they had built together after the war. No, he said. I did what I needed to do. And now I get to spend every day with you. That's more than enough. You changed the galaxy, Sora said softly. I made soup. Taemin corrected. You taught me how. The galaxy changed itself, but deep down he knew the truth. Sometimes the smallest acts had the biggest consequences. Sometimes feeding someone who was hungry could do more than any weapon. Sometimes compassion was the strongest force in the universe. And sometimes soup was enough to save the world. The war room of the Vrelian flagship was designed for conquest. Star maps covered the walls showing 40 systems marked in red. Each red mark was a civilization the Vrelians had defeated. Each one was a testament to their strength, but tonight, Silvara looked at those red marks and wondered if they meant what she had always thought they meant. Show me projections, she ordered. Kixvara activated the tactical displays. Numbers and graphs filled the air. If we continue the war at current intensity, we have a 68% chance of victory within 5 years. But that assumes human military capacity remains static. Recent intelligence suggests it does not. Explain. Humans are adaptive. More adaptive than any species we have encountered. They improve their technology faster than we can counter it. Their ship designs evolve every 6 months. Their weapon systems learn from each battle. If we project forward, Kixvara pulled up a new graph. In 2 years, our advantage disappears. In 3 years, they have the advantage. In 5 years, we lose, Drelkoth added his analysis. We have also underestimated their industrial capacity. The soup incident revealed this. They can spare resources for non-essential cultural activities even during wartime. Their economy is not strained by the war effort. Ours is, Silvara thought about this. The hegemony had been at war for 3 years. Every shipyard worked at maximum capacity. Every factory produced weapons. Every agricultural center barely kept the population fed. The war was bleeding them dry, but the humans were making soup for their enemies. There is another factor, Kixvara said quietly. Morale. Our warriors fight because they are ordered to fight. Because it is our culture. Because we have always conquered. But the humans, and she paused, the humans fight for something else. Something we do not understand. Compassion, Zilvara said. Yes, they fight to protect it. To preserve it. And that makes them more dangerous than any weapon. Drelkoth moved to the window. Outside, the 1,200 warships of the fleet hung in formation. Each one was a masterpiece of military engineering. Each one could level a city in minutes. If we surrender now, he said slowly, we do so from a position where we still have strength. We have 1,200 warships. We have 40 conquered systems. We can negotiate terms that preserve our dignity. And if we continue fighting? Silvara asked, though she already knew the answer. In 2 years, maybe 3, we surrender from a position of total defeat. We will have lost most of our fleet. Our systems will be occupied. Our people will be broken. And the humans... Drelkoth turned to face her. The humans will still give us soup. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Silvara looked at her commanders. These were warriors who had fought beside her for decades. They had conquered worlds together. They had faced death together. And now they were telling her to do something no war matriarch had done in 8,000 years. Surrender. What will the hegemony say? She asked. What will our people think when they learn we gave up without total defeat? Kixvara had clearly thought about this. We do not frame it as surrender. We frame it as strategic repositioning. We tell them the truth, that humans are unlike any enemy we have faced, that they do not conquer through strength alone, but through assimilation, that if we continue fighting we will lose not just the war but our entire culture. By seeking peace now, we preserve who we are. Will they accept that? Some will. Some will not. But you are war matriarch. Your word carries weight. And if we can negotiate terms that show strength, reparations paid by both sides, technology exchanges that benefit us, cultural programs that preserve Vrelian identity, then yes, they will accept it. Drelkoth added, we must also consider what happens if we win, even if the projections are wrong. Even if we somehow achieve total victory, we will have a dead Earth and millions of human survivors scattered across the galaxy, survivors who remember that we showed them no mercy, who remember that we refused their compassion. Those survivors will become terrorists, insurgents, martyrs. They will fight us for generations. We will never have peace. Silvara closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw the bowl of soup. Such a simple thing. Broth and protein in a ceramic container. But it represented something far more powerful than any weapon. It represented a choice. The humans had chosen to see their enemies as people who needed food. Not as targets. Not as subordinates. Not as threats. As people. And that choice had changed everything. We will seek terms, Silvara said finally. Contact the human delegation. Tell them I wish to meet with Ambassador Park alone, no guards, no subordinates. Just him and me. Kixvara nodded. That is wise. In human culture, this kind of meeting shows great respect. It shows great risk, Drelkoth said. If they wanted to kill you, this would be the perfect opportunity. Silvara looked at him. If they wanted me dead, they would not have fed me. Send the message. The next morning, Taman received the communication. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood correctly. Then he called Hana. Silvara wants to meet. Just the 2 of us. No delegation. No guards. Hana's eyes widened. That's huge. In Vrelian culture, meeting without protection is the highest sign of respect. It means she trusts you, or at least she's willing to show vulnerability. Is it a trap? I don't think so. If she wanted to kill you, there are easier ways. This means something else. This means she's ready to talk. Really talk. Taman felt his heart racing. This was the moment. Everything came down to this. What should I bring? He asked. Hana smiled. Nothing. Just yourself. And maybe your honesty. That's what reached her the first time. At 8 in the morning, Taman entered the conference room alone. Silvara stood at the window looking out at the stars. She turned when he entered. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. A human diplomat who had spent his life searching for peace. A Vrelian war matriarch who had spent her life making war. Ambassador Park, Silvara said. Her translator added overtones that Hana had taught him to recognize. Respect. Uncertainty. Something that might have been hope. War Matriarch, Taman replied. I have consulted with my commanders. We have analyzed yesterday's incident. We have run projections and calculated probabilities, and we have reached a conclusion. Taman waited. His hands were shaking. He clasped them behind his back. The Vrelian hegemony wishes to discuss terms of peace. The words seemed to echo in the vast room. Taman felt something break open in his chest. Relief, joy, exhaustion. All at once. What terms do you propose? He asked, keeping his voice steady. Silvara activated a holographic display. Ship positions appeared. All 1,200 warships in orbit around the station. Complete withdrawal from contested systems within 30 days. Reparations to be negotiated based on damages caused by both sides. Technology exchange programs to be established. Prisoner exchanges to begin immediately, and, she paused, we request cultural liaison officers. We must learn this thing you showed us. This compassion. We must understand it before we can share a galaxy with you. Taman felt tears forming in his eyes. He did not try to hide them. Those terms are acceptable, he said. We can begin formal negotiations immediately. There is one more thing, Silvara said. She reached into her armor and pulled out the bowl from yesterday, the bowl that had held soup. I wish to return this to you, but I also wish to keep a record of it. This bowl changed everything. My people should remember it. Keep it, Taman said. Consider it a gift. The first of many exchanges between our peoples. Silvara held the bowl carefully in her 4 hands. Why did you do it? She asked suddenly. You knew we were your enemies. You knew we had killed your people. Why did you feed us? Taman thought about Sora, about Hyunwoo, about everyone who had lost someone in the war. Because you were hungry, he said simply, and because someone had to show that we could be different, that we could choose compassion even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Silvara was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, we have no word for this in our language, but we will create one. What will you call it? Tilvara. It will mean to feed another without expectation of return. We will teach it to our children. We will remember this day, and we will try to be worthy of the gift you gave us. The formal surrender was signed by noon. Taman moved through the conference room with a bowl of soup in his hands. He went to the lowest-ranked member of the Vrelian delegation first, a young translator who stood in the back corner. The translator's eyes widened as Taman approached. Please, Taman said quietly, placing the bowl in front of the translator. You must be hungry. He moved to the next Vrelian, then the next. One by one, he and Hana served them all. The junior officers, the warriors, the senior diplomats. Each one received a bowl of soup. Each one stared at it like they had never seen food before. Finally, only one bowl remained. Taman picked it up and walked to the head of the table. War Matriarch Silvara watched him approach. Her forearms were completely still. Her face showed nothing. Taman placed the bowl in front of her. You haven't eaten in 3 days, he said. Neither have your people. We can talk about peace after everyone has eaten. He returned to his seat. The room was absolutely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Silvara stared at the bowl for a full minute. Her internal translator worked to process what had just happened. In all her years as a warrior, in all her studies of conquered species, nothing had prepared her for this moment. What was this human doing? She ran through the possibilities. In Vrelian culture, food was offered in only 3 situations. First, a mother fed her children. This was biological duty, nothing more. Second, a commander fed subordinates to establish dominance and maintain hierarchy. Third, an enemy poisoned food to kill without fighting. But this fit none of those patterns. Her bioscanners had already confirmed the soup was not poisoned. It was perfectly suited to Vrelian metabolism. Better than their own military rations, Taman was not establishing dominance. He had served the lowest-ranked translator first, then worked his way up to her. In Vrelian culture, this should have been deeply insulting. The strong ate first always, but the human's bio-readings showed elevated stress hormones. He had been nervous, sincere, and they were not his subordinates. Silvara commanded 1,200 warships. The human commanded nothing but words, so what was this? One of her junior officers moved. Kelleran, a young warrior who had been swaying from hunger for hours. He lifted the bowl to his face and drank. His metabolic readings spiked immediately. The proteins flooded his system. His body responded with desperate gratitude. Another Vrelian drank. Then another. Silvara watched her delegation break their fast. They were violating protocol. They were showing weakness in front of the enemy. But they were also her responsibility. She was their matriarch. If she forbade them from eating now, she would lose their respect. She lifted the bowl and drank. The soup was warm. Rich. It filled the empty places in her body that had been screaming for food. It was perfect, and it had been made by enemies who had every reason to watch them suffer. Across the table, the human ambassador sat quietly. He did not smile. He did not gloat. He simply waited. That night, Silvara returned to her flagship. She dismissed her guards and went to her private chambers. Then she did something she had not done in 40 years of military service. She accessed the hegemony's anthropological databases herself. Normally, she would have ordered subordinates to research and report their findings. But this question felt too important. Too strange. She needed to understand it herself. She searched for information about human behavior, about why they did things that made no strategic sense. The database was extensive. Humanity had been studied carefully since first contact. The hegemony always studied its enemies. She found reports on human warfare, human technology, human psychology, but nothing explained what had happened today. Then she found a file marked Linguistic Anomalies. She opened it. The file listed human concepts that had no direct translation in the Vrelian language. There were many. Humans had words for things that Vrelians could not understand. Abstract concepts, emotional states, social bonds that went beyond biological necessity or military hierarchy. One word appeared multiple times in the file. Compassion. Silvara read the definition. A feeling of deep sympathy and sorrow for another who is suffering, accompanied by a strong desire to help. She read it again, then a third time. The file included examples. Humans feeding stray animals, humans helping strangers in accidents, humans donating resources to populations they would never meet, humans caring for the elderly who could no longer contribute to society, humans mourning enemies who had died in battle. None of it made sense from a survival perspective. None of it served any obvious strategic purpose. The research AI had classified these behaviors as possible evolutionary malfunction or residual instinct from primitive social structures. But what if it was not a malfunction? What if this compassion was not a weakness? Silvara called for her senior commanders. Fleetmaster Drelkoth arrived first. He was old, scarred from 100 battles. Intelligence Prime Kixavara came next. She was younger but brilliant, with a mind that could calculate faster than most computers. They gathered in the war room beneath the ship's neural core. "I need an analysis," Silvara said. "What is the tactical significance of today's action?" Drelkoth and Kixvara exchanged glances. They had both been present when the humans served the soup. They had both drunk it, though they had tried to hide their hunger. "The soup?" Drelkoth asked. "Yes." They worked through the night. They ran scenarios. They calculated probabilities. They analyzed human behavior patterns from the entire war. Kixvara presented the first conclusion. If they can spare resources to create optimized nutrition for their enemies during peace talks, their supply chains are more robust than we estimated. Their agricultural capacity exceeds our models. Their industrial base can support both war production and non-essential projects simultaneously. Drelkoth added more. If a single diplomat and a cook can formulate Vrelian-compatible nutrition in 6 hours, their xenobiological research is more advanced than we thought. They understand our metabolism better than most of our own medical staff. "Continue," Silvara ordered. "If they extend this compassion to enemies who have destroyed their colonies," Kixavara said slowly, "what does this say about their psychological resilience, about their long-term strategic thinking?" "It says they do not fight like we do," Drelkoth said. "We conquer through force. We break our enemies and make them submit. But humans," he paused, "humans assimilate. They change their enemies from the inside." Silvara felt something cold settle in her chest. Not fear. Vrelian warriors did not fear death. But something close to it. Something like recognition. "They made us soup today," Kixavara said. "Tomorrow, if we surrender, they will offer us peace. In 10 years, they will offer us partnership. In 50 years, Vrelian warriors will fight beside human soldiers and not remember why we were ever enemies. Can we win this war? Silvara asked directly. The silence stretched for a long time. We can win battles, Drelkoth finally said. We can destroy their fleets. We can burn their worlds. But we cannot destroy this. He gestured to the empty soup bowl on the table. This compassion, this thing we do not even have a word for. We cannot fight something we cannot understand. Silvara stood. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was the hegemony. 8,000 years of history, 40 conquered systems, an unbroken record of victory, and none of it had prepared them for soup. Taman could not sleep. He lay in his bed for 3 hours, staring at the ceiling. His mind kept replaying the day's negotiations. Every word Silvara had said, every threat, every cold dismissal of peace. At 3 a.m, he gave up trying to sleep. He got dressed and walked through the quiet corridors of the diplomatic quarters. Most of the station was dark. Only emergency lights glowed softly along the walls. He found Hana sitting in the common area, surrounded by data screens. She looked up when he entered. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "No." Taman sat down across from her. "What are you working on?" "I've been going through the biometric data our sensors picked up from the Vrelian delegation." Hana pulled up a chart on the screen. "Look at this. Their metabolic rates are dropping. Heart rate equivalents are low. 3 of their junior officers collapsed today during the breaks. What does it mean?" "They're starving," Hana said simply. "Vrelians need to eat every 40 hours. It's been 3 days since they arrived at the station. They haven't eaten once." Taman leaned forward. "Why not?" "We offered to provide food. The station has Vrelian-compatible nutrition." "I know, but they refused it." Hana brought up another file. "I think it's a cultural thing. In Vrelian society, eating in front of enemies or inferiors is considered shameful. It shows weakness. Silvara is making her entire delegation starve to prove they're stronger than us." Taman thought about this. He thought about Sora's question from earlier. "Have you eaten anything today?" He thought about how hard it was to think clearly when you were hungry. How everything seemed worse when your body was crying out for food. How small problems became big ones when you were weak and tired. "They're suffering on purpose," he said quietly. "Yes, to prove a point." Taman stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the Vrelian warships floated in the darkness. Inside those ships were thousands of warriors, all of them following Silvara's example, all of them starving themselves to show strength. It was stupid. It was cruel. But it was also very Vrelian. An idea began to form in Taman's mind. It was a strange idea, maybe a crazy idea, but he could not shake it. "What if we fed them?" he said. Hana looked up. "They won't accept food." "I just explained that. What if we didn't ask? What if we just gave it to them?" "I don't understand." Taman turned to face her. "Tomorrow morning before the talks start, we bring them food. All of them. From Silvara down to the lowest translator. We don't ask permission. We just do it." Hana thought about this. It might offend them. It might make things worse. Maybe. Or maybe they're so hungry that they'll eat anyway. And maybe, Taman paused, trying to find the right words, maybe if we show them that we care whether they starve, they'll see us differently. "Do you really think food will change their minds about the war?" "No, but it might change how they see us. Right now, they think we're weak. They think compassion is a flaw. What if we show them that compassion can be strong too?" Hana was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "It's worth trying. But we'll need to prepare food that's compatible with their biology, not just nutritionally but culturally too. If we give them something that tastes wrong or feels wrong, it could backfire. Can we do that? In one night?" "I think so. I've been studying Vrelian dietary needs. I know what they can process. The question is what to make." Taman already knew the answer. "Soup," he said. "We'll make them soup." At 6 a.m, Taman went to the station's commissary. The human section had a small kitchen where the staff prepared meals. He found Hyunwoo Kim there getting ready for the breakfast shift. Hyunwoo was in his 40s, a civilian contractor who had been cooking for the diplomatic corps for 5 years. He had lost his family in the Vrelian attack on New Busan. His wife, his 2 daughters, all gone in the first wave of the war. "Ambassador Park?" Hyunwoo looked surprised to see him. "It's early. Can I make you breakfast? Actually, I need your help with something unusual." Taemin explained his plan. As he talked, he watched Hyunwoo's face. He saw anger there at first. The Varelians had taken everything from this man. Why should he help them? But then the anger faded. Something else took its place. Something tired and sad. You want me to cook for them, Hyunwoo said. It was not a question. Yes, but not military rations. Not diplomatic food, real food. The kind that reminds you that you're alive. Why? They killed my family. They killed thousands of families. Why should I care if they're hungry? Taemin had no easy answer. Because someone has to break the cycle. Someone has to show them that we're different, that we don't fight the way they do. And because, he paused, because your daughters would want you to. They would want you to be the bigger person. Hyunwoo's eyes got wet. He turned away and wiped his face. When he turned back, he had made his decision. Okay, he said. What do you want me to make? Together, they planned the soup. Hana joined them and brought her research. Vrelians were pure carnivores. Their biology rejected most plant matter. They needed dense protein and specific minerals. We can't give them traditional Korean soup, Hana explained. The vegetables would make them sick. But we can adapt it. Pure bone broth. Concentrated protein. Meat that's been cooked until it falls apart. Like galbatang, Hyunwoo said. But modified. Exactly, they worked for 3 hours. Hyunwoo prepared the broth from protein concentrates that matched Vrelian dietary needs. He added spices that Hana said would taste right to them. Not human spices, but things that would register as warmth and comfort to Vrelian senses. The kitchen filled with the smell of cooking meat. It reminded Taemin of home, of Sora's restaurant, of Sunday dinners with family. They prepared 87 bowls, one for each member of the Vrelian delegation. Hyunwoo arranged them on serving carts with military precision. Each bowl was identical. Each one was perfect. At 9 in the morning, Taemin and Hana pushed the carts down the corridor toward the conference room. Other human staff members stared as they passed. Word spread quickly through the station. The ambassador was bringing food to the Vrelians. Some people thought he was crazy. Some thought he was weak. But Taemin did not care what they thought. He only cared about what happened next. They reached the conference room doors. Through the windows, Taemin could see the Vrelian delegation already seated, waiting, starving. Are you ready? Hana asked. Taemin thought about Sora. He thought about Hyunwoo's daughters. He thought about all the people who had died in this war and all the people who would die if it continued. Yes, he said. Let's do this. They opened the doors and pushed the carts inside. Every eye in the room turned to look at them. The silence was absolute. Taemin began to serve the soup. The space station hung in the darkness like a dying star. Around it, empty space stretched forever in all directions. Below, a dead planet spun slowly, its surface covered in ice and dust. Nothing lived there anymore. Nothing had lived there for 1,000 years. Ambassador Taemin Park stood at the observation window and looked at the warships. There were so many of them. 1,200 Vrelian warships filled the space around the station. Each one was bigger than a city block. Each one carried enough weapons to destroy a planet. They were here to show Earth that the Vrelians were stronger. They were here to make humans afraid. Taemin was afraid, but he did not show it. He had been a diplomat for 30 years. He had learned how to hide his fear behind a calm face and steady hands. But inside, his heart beat fast. Inside, he wondered if today would be the day the war became something worse than it already was. The war had been going on for 3 years. It started when human colony ships entered a system the Vrelians claimed as theirs. The Vrelians attacked without warning. They destroyed the colony ships. They killed 8,000 people. Men, women, children, all dead in the first hour. Earth had fought back. Humanity always fought back. But the Vrelians were strong. They had conquered 40 star systems before they met humans. They knew how to fight. They knew how to win. For 3 years, worlds burned. Billions of people lost their homes. Millions died, and now both sides stood on the edge of something terrible. Earth had weapons it had not used yet. Weapons that could crack planets open. Weapons that could make suns go dark. The Vrelians had weapons too. Ancient weapons from civilizations they had destroyed long ago. If the talks failed today, those weapons would be used. If the talks failed, the war would become something that could never be stopped. Ambassador Park? A young woman's voice spoke behind him. They're ready for us, Taemin turned. Hana Cho stood in the doorway. She was 28 years old and brilliant. She had spent 5 years learning everything she could about the Vrelians. their language, their culture, their history. She knew more about them than anyone else in human space. How do they look? Taman asked. Hana frowned. Angry, but also something else. I think they're uncomfortable. Uncomfortable how? I'm not sure yet. But their body language is off. I've been watching the security feeds. The junior officers keep swaying. One of them collapsed an hour ago. Taman filed this information away in his mind. Every detail mattered in negotiations. Every small thing could mean something important. They walked together down the long corridor to the conference room. Their footsteps echoed on the metal floor. The station was cold. Everything in space was cold. Taman missed Earth. He missed the sun on his face. He missed the warmth of home. The conference room was massive. It had to be. The Vrelians were tall. The shortest of them stood 7 feet high. War matriarch Silvara, their leader, was almost 9 feet tall. She was covered in dark chitin that looked like armor. Her forearms ended in claws. Her face had no expression that humans could read. She sat at one end of the long table. Behind her stood 86 other Vrelians. Warriors, officers, diplomats, translators, all of them watching the humans with eyes that reflected the light like mirrors. Taman took his seat at the other end of the table. Hana sat beside him. Behind them stood the human delegation. Soldiers, scientists, translators. Everyone was armed. Everyone was ready for the talks to fail. War matriarch, Taman said. He spoke through a translator device that turned his words into the clicking, hissing sounds of the Vrelian language. Thank you for meeting with us. We do not meet as equals, Silvara replied. Her voice came through the translator as cold and hard. We meet so that you may hear our terms. Earth will submit to Vrelian authority. Your colonies will be dissolved. Your ships will be surrendered. Your people will serve the hegemony. That will not happen, Taman said calmly. Then your people will die. Many of your people will die too. Is that what you want? Silvara's forearms moved in a gesture that Hana had taught him meant contempt. Vrelian warriors do not fear death. We have conquered 40 systems. We have destroyed civilizations older than yours. We will destroy Earth as easily as we destroyed them. The first day of talks went like this for 6 hours. Threats, demands, ancient grievances brought up and argued over. The Vrelians would not bend. The humans could not submit. By the time Taman returned to his quarters, he was exhausted. His head hurt. His body felt heavy. He had not eaten all day. He had been too nervous to eat. He sat down at his desk and activated the quantum communicator. It took a moment to connect. Then his wife's face appeared in the hologram. Sora looked worried. She always looked worried these days. How did it go? She asked. Badly, Taman admitted. They won't negotiate. They want us to surrender completely. And you told them no? Of course, Sora smiled a little. Good, I didn't marry a man who gives up easily. Then her smile faded. You look terrible. Have you eaten anything today? Taman looked away. I wasn't hungry. Taman, you need to eat. You need to take care of yourself. How can you negotiate if you're too weak to think clearly? I know, you're right. I'll eat something. Promise me, I promise. They talked for a few more minutes. Sora told him about small things happening back on Earth. The weather. The neighbors. The restaurant she used to run before the war closed it down. Normal things. Human things. Things that reminded Taman why he was here. Why this mattered. After the call ended, Taman sat in the silence of his quarters. He did not eat. He could not. His stomach was tied in knots. Outside his window, the 1,200 warships waited in the darkness. Tomorrow, the talks would continue. Tomorrow he would face Silvara again. Tomorrow he would try again to find a way to peace. But tonight he could only sit and wonder if peace was even possible. The Vrelians had never surrendered in their entire history. They had never backed down from a fight. They believed that might made right, that the strong ruled and the weak served. How could he negotiate with a species that saw compassion as weakness? How could he find common ground with beings who had no concept of mercy? Taman did not know the answer. But he knew he had to try, because if he failed, billions would die. He stood up and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was home, and he would do whatever it took to protect it.